Welcome to the RV Dog channel. Preparing the truck for a trip. Time to change the oil. Alright, this is my ride, a Ram 3500 with a Cummins diesel. That's what we'll be changing the oil in. I'm also a certified shade tree mechanic. Here's my credentials to prove it. 1 shade tree. And my Florida certified work boots. So I'm definitely trades shade tree certified. Alright, I laid out everything I need. Got my beverage of choice. Got a creeper, 3 gallons of oil filter, some gloves, oil filter wrench, tools to take the air induction system off to be able to get to the oil filter, paper towels to clean up with, drain pan, funnel, and I'm all set to go. Now there's 2 methods of changing the oil filter on this. One is through that hole, which for me, my arms just aren't long enough to get in there and do that. So the method I do is I pull the air intake off. So we'll pop the hood. And what I'll do is pull these hoses off so I can get down to the oil filter, which is down in there. Alright, we're going to go under. And what I did, I made some blocks for the RV out of 4x4s and painted them yellow, and I also used them to raise the truck up just a hair so I can squeeze under and get the oil changed. It's just 4x4 blocks and I paint them yellow. Alright, we're going in. I plan on keeping the truck for 20 years. So what I did, I changed out the drain plug for one of the Fuma plugs. That's basically just a drain valve. I added a hose clamp to it so if we hit some debris, it won't automatically open up. Just gotta loosen up, slide that off. And away we go. Just open up the valve and we're draining oil. Alright, for me I'm short, so I get a step stool so I can get on up in here. And I use the method of removing the air intake, which will take some hose clamps off here, and down by the turbo, so we can get into the oil filter, which is located right down there. Alright, I have removed part of the air induction system. So you can see we can get a better view of the filter. I'm going to remove the elbow from the turbo. I have to remove the crankcase ventilation hose. It has a clamp right here. So I'll be removing that so we can get the filter out. Alright, I got the one elbow removed with the crankcase ventilation hose. And this is how dirty and nasty your turbo can get from the crankcase ventilation hose. Looks like I need to get a little light in there so we can see. Alright, every certified shade tree mechanic needs their Harbor Freight free light with coupon with purchase. They just hang right in there and do a great job. There we go. Now we can see all the gunk from the tube in the turbo. Don't know if that's good. Keep the corrosion down, or if it just gets all gooky in there. Alright, now we can get to the oil filter. Alright, I got my oil filter removed. Make sure and get the gasket so you don't get a double gasket. And I do my own oil changes, so I know I don't have another gasket, but if somebody else has done yours, you want to check, make sure you don't have a second gasket in there, because a double gasket, you can get it to leak. Also covered up my turbo so I don't get debris in there while I'm changing it. And also item that I added, the block heater. The block heater is already in the block, and off of eBay I got the cord. You just plug the cord in to the block heater that's already existing in the block, and then you route the cord around here, and I have it tucked away right here. And so if you get in cold weather, you can just plug it into an extension cord, and it'll make starting your truck a lot easier. Normally I don't get in temperatures below 32. Once it starts snowing and ice, I come back home to Florida. But I found if it gets below 40 degrees, plug this in and the truck starts a whole lot easier. Now there's some debate whether to pre-fill the oil filter or not, because you might get some debris from the new oil in there. I'm a certified shade tree mechanic, and I've always pre-filled, so I'm going to go ahead and pre-fill my filter. And my thoughts are it keeps oil going to the turbo, not necessarily the main bearings in the big concern, but you always want oil to the turbo. And when you buy an oil filter, it's not sealed up, it's just in a cardboard box. So you can get dust and debris in from the cardboard box when you buy the filter. So I pre-fill, some don't. You can leave in the comments of what you do. But that's what's been working for me for over 50 years, so that's what I do. Alright, I got my filter pre-filled. I leave it a little bit from the top so I don't spill it when I put it in. And then I have the gasket all looped up, so it slips on there and seals up very nicely. I'm going to spin it on, turn it 3/4 of a turn, and the filter will be done. Alright, got my new filter on, and I went ahead and put 1 full turn instead of 3/4 turn, because when I took off my old filter, it was really loose. I could just loosen it up with my hand. So I'll double check this filter in a week or two to make sure it's still tight, and especially before our long trip. I normally do maintenance a month ahead of time of a trip. That way, if there's any problems with the maintenance, you can drive it around town for a month or so, and if you don't have any problems, you'll be good to go. Alright, now I just got to reassemble. And when I reassemble, I actually put a little grease on the hoses so they come apart a little easier when we want to get them apart and they don't stick. Another debate is whether to take this foam out of the intake or to leave it in. And the baffle. One guy did a video and it shows the baffle improves a very small percentage of horsepower if you leave it in. And the foam is supposed to keep it quieter. And the concern is if the foam gets old, it will fall apart and then the engine will ingest it. My foam's still in good shape. The truck's a 2013, so the foam's 6 years old. I'm going to check it every time I change the oil, and if it starts to fall apart, I'm going to pull it out and discard the foam. But as of right now, on long trips, I enjoy the truck being as quiet as possible, so I'm leaving it in to keep the truck quiet. Now I do miss my 12 valve with a straight pipe. Easy to work on, no problems, everything mechanical, P7100 pump, and that was probably the best diesel ever made without all this emission stuff on it. I sure do miss that, but it was 20 years old and the engine was doing great, but the rest of the truck was just falling apart. Alright, I got it intake back all together. And what I do, I just snug up the hose clamps. You don't want to over tighten them to break them. I plan on keeping the truck for 20 years, so I'm going to be doing this about 14 more times. Alright, so the oil's done draining. And so we'll just come up here and flip the lever. There it is. Alright, it just has a little lever that you flip up, which closes the valve. And then I'll tighten this hose clamp right here. That way if we're on the highway, any debris won't open up the valve while we're going down the road. Hose clamp's just a little extra safety feature from a certified shade tree mechanic that you don't get from anywhere else. And got about 50 mosquitoes down here with me as I'm changing the oil. Part of the joys of living in Florida. Alright, there's my 3 gallons of old oil. And I'm going to add 3 gallons of my new oil. Now sometimes people are fussy about oil and stuff, but what I use is whatever's on sale. As long as it has the rating. On the back, the newest rating is CK4. Normally it's CJ4, but they went up to CK4. So that meets my manufacturer specifications, SAE15W40 diesel engine oil. Now that's what I'm going to put in there, 3 gallons. That's what works for me. And I make it real simple. Got my funnel, and I'm just going to pour that right in there. Alright, so I'm now going to grease up the chassis. Got my grease gun out. Try to get all the grease fittings done. Also, Dodges have had some recalls. The T51 on the water pump. I got to keep an eye on my water pump because I got one of those water pumps without a seeping hole. So far mine's hanging in there pretty good. And a couple other recalls they have on the Ram trucks is this weld right here. It breaks off of this linkage, and they got a fix for that, but mine's not cracked or broken, so I sort of go with the philosophy, if it ain't broke, I'm not going to fix it. And the other recall is these nuts on the steering linkage here come loose. Check mine. Alright, so I have my oil change complete. And my official shade tree mechanic official records that I keep, what I do, I just write it right under the hood. And when I change my oil, I change it about once a year. And I drive about 4,000 to 6,000 miles a year. Plan on keeping the truck until it's 20 years old. So I got 14 more oil changes to do, and I'll have about 100,000 miles on it when I go to sell it. Somebody's going to have a nice truck, and when I go to sell it. All right, one more step down, getting ready for my trip. Thank you for watching the RV Dog channel.